But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. Psalm 5, 7-8. After describing God's righteous hatred of sin, in verses 4-6, David now pivots with the contrasting phrase, "But as for me." This transition marks a profound shift from focusing on the wicked, whom God rejects, to David's own approach to God. The contrast couldn't be sharper. While the wicked cannot dwell with God, David declares his intention to enter God's house. This entrance, however, comes not through personal merit, but through the multitude of thy mercy. The Hebrew word for mercy refers to God's faithfulness and loving kindness. David recognizes that access to God's presence depends on divine grace, not human achievement. Even as a man after God's own heart, David claims no inherent right to approach the holy God who abhors iniquity. Instead, he relies on God's abundant mercy. Yet this mercy does not lead to presumption. David balances his confidence in God's loving kindness with reverence when he writes, "In thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple." This godly fear differs from terror. It represents profound reverence and awe before the Almighty. As Proverbs 9:10 reminds us, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. David's approach combines intimate trust with deep reverence, an excellent model for all believers. The reference to God's holy temple refers to the tabernacle, as Solomon's temple hadn't yet been built during David's lifetime. This sacred space represented God's dwelling among his people, the place where heaven and earth intersected. In verse 8, David's prayer shifts from worship to petition. He asks God for guidance. "Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness." This request acknowledges human dependency on divine direction. David doesn't trust his own moral compass, but seeks to walk in God's righteous ways. The motivation, "because of mine enemies," suggests David faces opposition from those who would rejoice at his moral failure. As king, his conduct affected the entire nation, making righteous living even more crucial. The last petition, "Make thy way straight before my face," uses imagery from the construction of roads. In ancient times, preparing for a king's journey involved removing obstacles and straightening the path. David asks God to clear moral obstacles and make the right path obvious. This echoes Isaiah 43, where a voice cries, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God." For believers today, these verses offer several practical applications. First, they remind us that approaching God requires both confidence in His mercy and reverence for His holiness. Many Christians emphasize one at the expense of the other. They either presume grace without proper reverence, or they cower in fear without embracing God's loving kindness. Biblical worship maintains this tension. Second, David's prayer for guidance speaks to our daily need for divine direction. In a world of moral complexity and competing voices, Christians must pray, "Lead me in thy righteousness." This guidance comes through Scripture, which is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Psalm 119, 105. Last, David's concern about enemies reminds believers that others watch our conduct. Our moral failures damage our witness and give occasion for God's enemies to blaspheme. This reality should motivate us to pray for God's guidance and grace.